I'm national correspondent Kayla Gaskins here in Washington, and today we have State Department Deputy Principal Spokesperson Tommy Pigott with us. Tommy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I want to talk about the Board of Peace. The inaugural meeting happened this week. What do you see as some of the big takeaways from that meeting?
I think the unprecedented global coalition that President Trump's put together. Of course, he did that when the ceasefire was first announced, but this is another step in that direction. All of the world leaders that were there dedicated to implementing the president's peace plan, moving into this phase 2. I think it's also important to reflect on how far we have come. The fact that we have seen aid get into Gaza without it being looted by Hamas. The fact that we've seen hostages be released. The fact that we see the creation of this Board of Peace. Of course, as was outlined in the meeting yesterday, there's still a lot of work to do, but there is tremendous momentum to get this president's peace plan into implementation and to keep moving forward.
A lot was made about the lack of European participation in the Board of Peace at this moment. How important does the State Department see Europe participating in the Board of Peace and, them largely not being there?
Well, look, I think fundamentally, again, the president is dedicated to putting his principles into action, and his principles here are about getting that advancement of peace. So the president's leadership has brought this support together. We have the UN mandate for the Board of Peace to implement this peace plan in Gaza. We've seen tremendous momentum get there. So of course this will develop over time, but this has only been possible because of the president's leadership, and there has been tremendous progress that has been made.
So the Board of Peace was at least initially created to address Gaza and to address really that regional problem in the Middle East. And some of the major regional players are participating in this board: Egypt, Turkey, Qatar. What is that cooperation like right now as far as the future of Gaza and turning the Gaza Strip into a functioning community that's not filled with terrorism?
As was outlined yesterday, we see a lot of these countries stepping forward in terms of pledges of funding, pledges of personnel, pledges of troops and other different people that will be helping in security. So we've seen these pledges step forward. This has been tremendous progress that's been made, especially from where we've come. So we've seen this cooperation. We've seen people come together, working together under the president's leadership to implement this peace plan, something that people thought was impossible. And I think it's also important to note the fact that when President Trump does this, when he advances the cause of peace here, it's important to the American people as well. Having peace allows prosperity, it allows security, it allows all of our countries to be safer, and that's what the president is so dedicated to.
How close are we to seeing peace in Gaza?
Well, I think as the president said, we're seeing that ceasefire in place. Of course, demilitarization is essential for Hamas. Hamas must demilitarize. That is something that the president has been incredibly clear on. That is the contingency. That's what needs to happen for all these other steps to happen. But the goal here is peace and prosperity. We've made, as I've said, tremendous progress in getting towards that peace and prosperity. We're seeing momentum with the Board of Peace plan announced yesterday, in terms of those different pledges that were made.
Are there any signs Hamas will voluntarily demilitarize?
Well, as the president's made clear, this has been a peace plan that they've agreed to. And that's the expectation that is going to happen.
Moving on to Iran. So the White House maintains last summer's strikes decimated Iran's nuclear program. What is the rush then for the current deadline of 10 to 15 days President Trump is giving Iran to make a nuclear deal?
Well, the president's been clear from the beginning of this administration, even beforehand, about the destabilizing actions we're seeing the Iranian regime take, and the fact that those destabilizing actions need to come to an end. We have a maximum pressure policy from our administration that has been bent on denying the Iranian regime the revenue they need to fund those destabilizing activities. That includes that nuclear weapons program. That includes their ballistic missile program. That includes the funding of terrorist proxies across the region. As the president said yesterday during the Board of Peace, you cannot have peace in the Middle East if Iran has a nuclear weapon. It cannot happen. So Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's the bottom line. The president is acting to defend our national interests. And I think if anyone doubts what the president says, they just need to look to the last time that the Iranian regime refused to make a deal. And we saw Operation Midnight Hammer. So if anyone doubts that the president means what he says, Operation Midnight Hammer very much proved that he does.
What's spurring such a tight deadline, though, for this deal right now?
Well, the president's a deal maker. He's a peacemaker. The president wants to make sure that the destabilizing actions of the Iranian regime end. That's a direct threat to U.S. troops in the region, U.S. allies in the region, the American people. The president is advancing our national interests, and the force posture that we see in the region is actually reflective of those interests that we have in the region, including those U.S. troops, including our allies in the region. The president is a peacemaker. He's a deal maker. He wants to see a deal happen.
Some are suggesting the ultimate goal behind this military buildup in the Middle East is actually regime change in Iran. What do you have to say to those people?
Well, President Trump wants to make a deal with the Iranian regime. He wants to see them make a deal that stops these destabilizing activities. You have a regime in Iran that, instead of funding water, food, and energy infrastructure, has wasted their vast wealth on these terrorist proxies, on a nuclear weapons program, on a ballistic missile program. The president is defending our national interests. That is the primary goal of this president always, to put America first. He's a peacemaker, he's a deal maker, and he's a defender of America's national interests.
So the U.S. still believes a deal is possible with this regime in Iran?
Well, the president spoke very clearly to this. He said that we want to see a deal, and if they don't make a deal, it'll be very bad for them, as the president said. So he's been very clear on this issue. He wants to see a deal, and if they don't make a deal, it'll be very bad for them.
Are we possibly heading towards World War III, as some fear?
The president has brought about more peace than any president in history, and that's directly benefited the American people. The fact that you see 8 conflicts being ended by this president, and then in conjunction with that, investment from those areas coming back to help the American people, creating jobs, leading to real wage growth, the rebalancing of trade that we've seen, all these things are connected. And so the president has advanced this cause of peace. So I think, quite contrary to your question, we're a much safer world because of the policies that President Trump has put in place. And we're a safer world because we're a stronger America that is racing boldly into the future, not just to recapture the past in terms of industries and other things, but to be well positioned to take advantage of the opportunities that lie ahead of us.
Are there any other diplomatic meetings in the works like we saw in Geneva this past week?
Well, these are ongoing, dynamic conversations. I don't want to preview specifics right now, but what I can say is that the president wants to see a deal, as I've said, and if the Iranian regime refuses a deal, as the president said, it'll be very bad for them.
So lines of communication are still open at this point?
As of now, the president said he wants to see a deal, and that's what the president has said.
All right. Is there anything else, Tommy, you want to add either on Iran or on the Board of Peace before I let you go?
No, I think that just about covers it. I mean, the president is implementing these policies, advancing the cause of peace more than any other president. He always puts America first, and when he does so, the American people directly benefit through safety, prosperity, and being a stronger nation as a whole.
All right. Tommy Pigott with the State Department, thank you so much.
Thanks.